I'm here with Rachael Burns from Trueworth Financial Planning, and something I think is great about her is she specializes in financial planning for divorcing women and widowed women, trying to help them get their finances back in order. So thank you so much, Rachael, for chatting with us today and just telling us more about how you can really help serve this base of clients.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing financial planning?
I've been in the business since 2008. So however many years that's been, feels like a lot. So I spent a majority of that time working for big wealth management firms. And that was a very, very different world than what I'm in now. Back then, you just kind of worked with whoever met the minimums, and there wasn't really such a thing as working with like a niche market. You couldn't really get real specific about who you worked with. You just worked with people who had a bunch of money, basically.
Right.
And once I decided that I wanted to just work with women, and I wanted to work with women who didn't necessarily meet minimum account sizes, I had to go do that. I had to go out on my own in order to do that. And so that's when I left and started my own firm. And now I can work with whoever I want. And so I just work with ladies who are kind of newly single after some sort of major life transition.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So what made you decide to do this as a niche?
I've always preferred working with women, which I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but I just feel like I have something to offer women clients that the average advisor can't necessarily. I think I can relate to them on a different level. I think I ask them different questions. I think I have a different relationship with them. And I think I'm able to make them feel more comfortable than maybe like the traditional advisor that you'd think of. And I always just really enjoyed those clients who were divorced or widowed, and I could really make a big difference at that point in their life. Like they really needed help with the finances and they were going through a really rough time, and I was able to make like a really tangible difference for them. And to me, that was really rewarding. And so I naturally gravitated towards clients like that. But again, in the old world, I couldn't just be like, oh, well, I'm only working with women in transition. So I was like, wouldn't that be cool if I could just do that? Like if I could just work with those types of women. And it seemed like this really outlandish like dream, but I was listening to some podcasts and found out, oh, there are people who actually do that. And it's not like incredibly difficult to go out on your own. I mean, it's not easy, but I found out it was a possibility. And so then I was like, oh, well, that's clearly what I have to do, because that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so what does that mean if somebody has just lost their spouse, or whether death or divorce, lost this chunk of a situation, right? So what does that look like when they come to you? What does that mean? What are you helping them with, I guess?
So when they come to me, usually they have no idea what's going on. Like usually they are right in the midst of the turmoil and they don't know what they have in terms of assets. They don't know what their lifestyle is going to look like going forward. They're just like panicked, like they're going through the shock and the grief of the loss of the relationship. But then there's also the fear of the unknown and like the stress of trying to manage finances, especially if that's the first time they've been managing it on their own. So they're going through like this time when they're just going through all this, every part of their life is so chaotic. And so I like to take the financial chaos and get it organized, give them a plan that shows them, okay, this is what you need to do. These are the things that you actually need to worry about. The rest of it, you don't need to worry about. Do these simple things and you're going to be on track. And that's, it's just getting them on a path to meeting their goals and not being stressed out and like knowing what they need to know about their finances.
Right. Okay. So like if you get a woman whose husband was like the one who paid all the bills, he maybe he made the money and it was all in accounts that he was in charge of.
Yeah.
So you're helping them very like granular with their stuff, right? Not just
Yeah.
where do I help put your 401k that you've split up, like it's
Yeah.
not just that. It's
Yeah. There's a lot. I mean, there's like some bigger picture stuff that we work on with investments and stuff, but a lot of it is the nitty gritty, like coming up with a budget and knowing, okay, this is what your income is coming from. This is what you're paying in taxes. This is like just getting their stuff organized so they know what they even have to work with.
mm-hmm.
So we do get really granular. And then, once we get the like immediate stuff taken care of, then we're coming up with plans for the longer term.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I love that. I think that's so helpful because I've definitely ran into women who, most of the time I'm working with them from the divorce standpoint, not necessarily from the widow side of things, but where their husband took care of everything. And so they're not sure even where to make a mortgage payment, or like what are property taxes, and are they a part of your mortgage payment, and all of those things that sometimes the woman is the one in charge of that stuff, and it's probably the husband that's like, oh, I don't know what to do. But it's nice to have somebody on your side who can really help with that. So I think that makes you stand out as somebody different, that you do get that granular with it. Because I've ran into other financial advisors who maybe work for the bigger firms.
Yeah.
Really just are dealing with that big asset. Like, where do I put my half of the 401k? What do I do with that? But beyond that, there's not a lot of advisement.
Yeah.
So tell me, how do you get paid from, how does that work?
So I charge a flat fee, which is very different than the normal financial advisor that you meet at a big firm. I have a service model where it's a 6-month stint basically, and we have a series of meetings. There's like 5 main meetings, and then there's as much in between calls and email support as needed. And then I just charge a flat fee for that time period. And what I like about that is it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you came out of a divorce or your spouse died and you have $1 million, you pay the same fee as if you had $0. I mean, you need to have enough money to pay the fee, I suppose, over time. But I don't care what your net worth is, because you still need financial advice whether you have a bunch of money or not. There's still a lot of decisions that need to be made during that time. And there's a lot of strategizing for your financial future. And it really doesn't matter how much. Some people think, oh, I don't need that because I don't have a bunch of money. It's like, well, then you probably really need advice if you don't have much that you're working with, because you need to make sure that you're making the best decisions possible. So the flat fee makes financial advice a lot more accessible, because for the majority of the financial advisors, you have to have a minimum of like a couple $100,000 in an account that you can move to that advisor, not just a couple $100,000 in net worth, but you need to like have an account with a couple $100,000 in it and move it to this advisor to manage. Otherwise, it's not worth it for them to work with you, because they're going to charge you a percentage of how much money they're managing. So it's unfortunate, but what that does is it excludes everyone who doesn't have a whole bunch of money in an account. So a lot of people have a lot of their money in a retirement plan through their work, and they can't just move that to an advisor. So that doesn't count. They don't look at the equity you have in your home. So for a majority of people, that's where their net worth is. It's either in their home or it's in their retirement accounts through their work. And so there's not a ton of people out there who can just move a couple of $100,000 around. So that's my group of people that I can work with that don't really have access to advice otherwise, which has been that's been really nice about changing kind of the way that I charge.
Yeah, that makes sense. And is 6 months enough, or do sometimes people need more help? Or is usually 6 months a good, like, we can get you on track in 6 months?
Yeah, it depends. So depending on the situation, my goal is not to like get a client and make them dependent on me for the rest of their life. My goal is to get them through a tumultuous time in their life get things settled down with their finances, get them on a path so that they know what they need to do. And then going forward, it's not necessarily autopilot for them going forward, but they know that like, okay, I know what I need to do. And if I need help, I'm available on an hourly basis after that or whatever. But my goal is to like get them through that 6 months and kind of get everything wrapped up so that they're relatively self-sufficient after that. If people want to have an ongoing relationship, I'm certainly happy to do that. And there are plenty of people who want that, and that's totally understandable. But there are some people who are like, okay, I think I get it. I feel good now. I can do it on my own. So you can accomplish a lot in a 6 month period. But as you can imagine, after that 6 months is up, something else could change in their life. They could get a new job. Someone could pass away in their family. They have a baby or whatever. There's so many things that happen in your life that completely changes your financial situation. So after that 6 months is over, it's like, oh, well, I just had this crazy, I have this like new inheritance that I got out of nowhere, or I just had to, I don't know, had this medical event and now I had to pay $50,000. Like, what do I do now? Then there's a good reason to kind of get back together and review things.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Do you have any hot tips, like 3 tips that people need to think about when they're in this situation? What's like 3 tips that, or it could be more, it could be less. Is there just like something that advice that you could give to somebody in this situation? Like, what's the next step or something?
Yeah. I think for someone that's in the middle of it, my advice is, if you're feeling overwhelmed, just know that you don't need to do everything all at once, and you don't need to be an expert in all these things. No one is expecting you to be an expert in all these financial things. So start small and get help. Like, take little piece, just do a little piece at a time. And don't be afraid to ask for help. And help is actually, it can be affordable. It can be available. Some things you have to pay for, like you'd have to pay to have someone give you tax advice, or you have to pay an attorney to do your estate planning documents or whatever. But like, you can have conversations with professionals, and a lot of them are perfectly happy to chat with you for a consultation, and you can pick their brain. And, if it's a good fit, then that's great. And if not, I don't know, like, just don't be afraid to reach out to people and ask questions, because if handling your finances is new to you, you're not going to just like sit down and learn everything you need to know. And you've got other stuff going on. So it's like, you don't even want to do that. You don't want to be like spending all of your time and energy doing that when you have other things going on in your life. So just like, don't be afraid to delegate some of that stuff to someone who can do a really good job and do it quickly and make sure that, no mistakes are being made.
Right. Do you have a consultation, like a first time consultation with people, anything like that?
Yeah. So I offer a free strategy call, and it's 30 minutes. And during that call, I get an idea of what their situation is. And if I'm able to help them, usually we can kind of figure that out in the first call, and we can talk about what that looks like. And if it's not a good fit, that's totally fine. And I'm happy to send people on their way with some pointers, some referrals to some other professionals that they might be better suited for or whatever. So in that call, whether or not they work with me, they leave that call with some sort of like helpful information or a direction to go in. So I offer that to everyone, and I encourage people to take me up on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you help with, this just kind of popped into my head because I recently had a borrower pass away and has a wife, so I will definitely send her your way. But do you help people sort out the life insurance part of that, life event?
Yeah. So when someone passes away, there's some administrative stuff that has to be done with the life insurance company, which it's actually not super complicated. There's just some paperwork to fill out. And then once you receive the death benefit, then you have to figure out what you're going to do with it. And I can help with that as well.
Yeah. Okay. So can you also help with investment strategy too?
Hmm.
Like you're licensed to do that. You're not
Yeah.
just like a
Yeah.
financial coach.
Right. I'm like a full on financial advisor. Like I can advise on investments too.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So tell us how to get a hold of you if we need you.
Sure. So you can visit me on my website. It's trueworthfp.com. So it's F as in Frank, P as in Paul. My website has more information about my services, and it has a bunch of places where you can book that strategy call with me. And another good place to get a hold of me is on social media. I'm pretty active on Instagram, and that's a good place to kind of connect and kind of stay in touch. And so my Instagram handle is TrueworthFP, same as my website. So those both are good ways to get a hold of me.
Yeah, you have some really good tips on your Instagram. So I know I
Thank you.
shared some stuff, but yeah, always just like good information. Surround yourself with people that can help you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So thank you so much for letting me interview you. And
Thank you.
I think what you have to offer is really important and great. So I'm really excited to gotten to know you a little bit.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm excited to know you too.